All right. So today we have Susy Thunder, which I read. I thought this was very interesting. There was a famous hacker from decades ago who keynoted DEF CON as Susy Thunder. She was a social engineer and a phreaker, and then she vanished. And a reporter decided to hunt her down, and it's a very entertaining story talking about how she caught her. She had a hard life where her parents died, and then she was passed around from one miserable place to another, and then she became sort of a hacker to gain power over life, and then she became like the super groupie and posted cards, and one of her accomplishments was having sex with all four Beatles, which was apparently very difficult. And then she vanished utterly, and when they finally tracked her down, she said, the only hackers you know of are the bad ones that got caught. There's a bunch of us that never got caught. And we're the ones that really know what we're doing. Anyway, it's a very interesting article showing the old hacker scene, which I missed out on because I was all being square and legal. I never did any of that nonsense. So I got no street cred in that regard, not likely to get any. But anyway, and then Liz has got robots cutting people apart.
This is a cool story. So some researchers at Johns Hopkins University have been working on a technique that is known as STAR, which stands for Smart Tissue Autonomous Robot System. And this is really pretty amazing. This is the first time.
Tissue. I'm having a little problem with smart tissue.
Well, this is the first time that robots have been used to apparently fully automate a surgery from planning to execution. No pun intended. What it did was the robot was able to join two sections of intestinal tissue for a pig. And apparently, at least according to this article, the outcomes using this robot surgery system are better than with human surgeons. So that's pretty interesting.
Did they send a little thing like the Impossible Mission through the body to do it from the inside without cutting in? That would be awesome.
I don't know. I don't think they did it Magic School Bus style, but that would be really cool. Let's hope that one is the way of the future.
I could see them getting, like a robot vacuum cleaner going through your arteries, cleaning off the plaque. It would be
right.
Awesome.
With nanobots.
Yeah, nanobots. I'm all for it. All right. And Kaitlyn has got computers playing chess.
Yeah, so this used to be a big thing back when I was a kid. Computers playing chess. And the whole idea was like, are we ever going to have a computer that can beat a human at chess? And this was a big problem for computer scientists for a long time. And so finally, around 1995, Deep Blue, which was an IBM machine, beat Gary Kasparov, who was a top chess player at the time. In fact, I remember this in the news. And this was a big thing. And I kind of, and this was like, okay, we did it. We built a computer that can beat the top master in chess. Cool. And we didn't hear anything, at least I didn't hear anything about it ever since. Well, it turns out that computer algorithms and artificial intelligence in particular have been improving chess on computers ever since. And now if in 1995, computers were good enough to beat the top chess champion, how good are they in 2022? Well, they are really, really good. Like they have completely destroyed any notion that a human will ever have a chance against a computer again. There's a graph on this article, which is, by the way, hosted by 538, and this was written by Oliver Roeder. And there's this graph showing, how good are chess machines versus humans at playing chess. And you see, there's this kind of steady line for humans, slightly going up in time because humans are slightly getting better at chess. But then computers are like just come up and like just blew humans away, are now at least, twice as good as far as these numbers look like. And so now there are entire websites devoted to just watching computers play chess against each other because they're so much better than any human. And so it's sort of like watching God play chess. Like the top chess players are just looking at these computers in awe of like what they're doing, how far ahead they're thinking. It's absolutely amazing. So they have like tchess.com, which is just computers against computers. And this is looking like the future of chess. Is certainly there's going to be room for human competition, but the top level stuff is just computers, which is absolutely amazing.
And the whole point of chess was to simulate war. So it's only a small step from here to Skynet.
Yes, exactly. So pretty soon, I mean, yeah, if we have computers just outperforming humans in this mental task of chess, it'll be interesting to see how we can translate that into more practical activities. For example, creating military strategies. Like what's the best way to maintain, military supremacy in a region?
So the robots can not only beat you at chess, they can also beat you at physical war and then put you back together again after they blow you up.
Yes, they can kill us and heal us at the same time.
A brave new world.
It's awesome.
I never liked chess. It's too much work. It always seemed to be like a good job for a computer.
I thought you would love chess, Sam.
No, it's too much work.
What?
I'm with Sam. It's just as a game.
It's just like coding all day. It's going.
But you love that. You love COBOL. Come on now.
I do, but it's somehow more satisfying than chess, where the end result is just to sort of humiliate.
Are you a checkers guy?
No, I never liked that much either.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But what I've been playing Wordle, and one thing I saw yesterday was pretty awesome is someone who's written a program. When you win at Wordle, it posts your winning technique, showing what colors you hit. And so he scrapes Twitter and finds like 1,000 of those diagrams and deduces the word from that. Because of course that leaks some information. You can guess what word they were. So anyway, it was pretty cute. Anyway, and of course you can just beat Wordle by just looking at the source code. It's very much like my JavaScript games that encourage students to cheat. I should give them homework, win Wordle. There are so many ways to cheat and win at Wordle.
Oh, yes.
I started posting, me winning in one move and stuff because it's really easy to cheat. Anyway, so Irvin has got Nmap.
Yes, the United Kingdom's National Cybersecurity Center is releasing a couple new Nmap scripts, which, yay, we're getting more. I like getting them from reputable sources.
Yeah, and Nmap is one of the friendlier engines to use, a lot easier than other build scanners.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to see the new stuff that they release on GitHub and applying that to everything that I have and everywhere else.
I think it's a lot friendlier than the previous standard, which was to give you snort rules for everything.
I'm still wrapping my head around snort.
Snort rules are like a logical puzzle. You can easily make a snort rule that will never resolve and freeze your machine.
I might actually learn Python before I learn snort.
Yeah, regular expressions are pretty daunting. Anyway, Alan has got a pandemic.
Well, not the pandemic, but the Biden administration response to the pandemic. New York Times, with 4 reporters who I will not name, has published a story that really examines the entirety of the Biden administration's response to the pandemic and the poor response to the pandemic, starting first with the Biden administration's 200-page plan, and which was released at the time of inauguration, and how poorly the administration has managed to follow that, to the point that there have been questions as to exactly who is in charge. Jeff Zients is supposedly the coronavirus response coordinator, but he doesn't have a public health background at all. In fact, in the Obama administration, he was a economic advisor, and Javier Becerra is the Health and Human Services, the Secretary of Health or whatever. He's been mostly missing in action. So this story just examines where things went wrong and who is responsible for these things going wrong. And it does fault both of those figures. It also faults Rochelle Walensky, who is the head of the CDC, And it seems that a lot of folks who are responsible for the coronavirus response are just in over their heads. And that's certainly true of Walensky too. It seems that she's prone to making decisions without consulting all the stakeholders and all the experts, in-house experts. And so it's just this article is an interesting examination of where things have gone wrong in the response. And of course, there's no single figure that's got it wrong. It's a very complex system, and a number of people just aren't quite up to snuff, shall we say. Plus, the virus itself has thrown a number of curveballs. So it was to be expected that the response hasn't gone as well as it might have. But then again, the bureaucracy and the figures in charge of the bureaucracy have not been handling it so well themselves.
Yeah, I know, man. I've been watching. I was hoping Biden was going to be competent and bringing America together again, but it just seems to be the end result is the same as Trump, but you don't have as much of a clown show in front of it.
Right. And apparently, the Biden administration has been sensitive to Republican response and also the Republican base's response. And perhaps they've been tiptoeing a little too quietly, not wanting to hurt feelings or not wanting to agitate anybody.
Well, I don't think there's too much tiptoeing. I think they just have no idea what they're doing, and they put clowns in charge and just sort of make random stupid statements. That's why when Rochelle Walensky went against some medical evidence and said people could get the booster even if they were under 65 if they felt threatened, I thought, good. So she's taken all the actual guidance out of the guidance so I can make my own decision because the government is worthless. I guess that's the best you can do. When I was a kid, my father said the best thing you want about the government is to snarl everything up so they can't do anything because all they do is make everything worse. You just want them to be paralyzed. And I found that to be absolutely true at the college level. As far as I can tell, it's true at the federal level too. If they would just stick to embezzling money and taking cocaine and not run the government, it would probably be better.
Well, I think there is real hope. You know, there are figures who are probably more accomplished and competent at these jobs than the people who are currently in charge.
Well, then our system doesn't let them rise to the top.
Well, yeah, this is an unfortunate thing, but part of the blame does lie in the Biden administration. You know, they didn't have to choose Jeff Zients to be the response coordinator. They didn't have to choose Walensky to be the head of the CDC. I think both choices have proven to be poor ones. If they had better people in those roles, the response probably would have been better, at least at times and in some ways.
I guess. Anyway, it's good to see people looking at it seriously. The one thing I think really is great about America is the free press. We really do get to find out what's going on a lot, which is mostly pretty depressing, but at least we know. Anyway, so I saw an article here with chapter and verse and details of what I've heard for years. North Korea is funded almost entirely by cybercrime, and most of that cybercrime is stealing cryptocurrency because that's once you put your money on the internet, well then, gee, that saves us all a whole lot of bother. And so they stole $400 million of digital assets attacking blockchain projects, mostly Ether, it turns out, because probably because of all those lovely smart contracts, which are awesome, like NFTs and give you remote code execution for free and stuff like that. So anyway, it's interesting to see the details. And another thing I saw here, which I'd heard from cryptocurrency boosters, people say cryptocurrency is full of crime, but in fact, it is very small. The share of money laundering is only 0.05% of the total transaction volume, much less than other forms of money like cash. So it's not fair to say cryptocurrency used only for crime. It's used primarily for financial speculation. But anyway, it certainly ends up funding North Korea for what it's worth. And Liz has got a privacy bill.
Yes, this is an interesting article from CPO magazine, which I assume stands for Chief Privacy Officer. I've never seen this publication before, but the article's pretty interesting. It is covers a new privacy bill that's going up for legislation, and it is intended to limit the reach of surveillance advertising by companies like Facebook and Google. And it's pretty interesting because if this bill passed, it would restrict the level of targeting for advertising to geographical, essentially like generalized geographical information. No more real granular targeting based on personal details, which I think is pretty interesting.
And is that a good idea, really? I wonder, you know, I've heard from what I'm reading, Facebook and stuff are actually moving away from all that heavily targeted advertising anyway.
I think they're finding other ways to target. I think they already know that these limitations are an issue in other countries that care more about their citizens' privacy than this one. And I think they're finding other ways to track you.
Yeah. Well, all right. But that's not passed yet, I think.
It isn't, but I think, you know, every time one of these comes up, even if it doesn't pass, I think it's progress, because at least the focus is shifting in that direction instead of just completely unfettered access to that stuff with no requirements on how you're going to protect your data or anonymize stuff. So I think it's a win just even when it comes up for consideration.
All right. And Kaitlyn has got her favorite operating system here, Windows. I think she has to recover from that.
Yes. Sorry about that. It takes a second for me to switch over when I'm on another operating system. Yeah, so Windows 11. The Verge has an article written by Tom Warren, at Tom Warren on Twitter. Good old Tom. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate your hard work. Anyway, so Windows 11 is finally getting a bit of an upgrade. So it's continuing the tradition of Windows 10, where Windows 10 we get these sort of like big like creator updates and stuff, which is really good because Windows 11 sort of came broken. Like they fixed everything in Windows 10 and then they're like, let's break everything again with Windows 11. And so now Windows 11 is getting a few new features next month. And when I say new, I really mean they're restoring old features mostly. So the taskbar in particular, they're going to have mute and unmute on the taskbar again, like people wanted. Now they're still trying to re-implement drag and drop on the taskbar, which was very useful, but they'll get to that later apparently. But they're trying to get the taskbar back where it was with Windows 10.
What about Clippy?
Clippy is not going to be in Windows 11 yet.
Is there any reason for Windows 11 to exist at all yet?
No, absolutely
not. And by the way, I must, for the record, protest at your statement that Windows 10 ever worked. I mean,
Windows 10 does work.
Windows 10 would self-destruct every month as they put on another update that breaks everything. It was like madness. It was like
I've never had Windows 10 self-destruct.
Oh, I had it a lot. Buttons vanish from the menus. You go to click it and it's gone because they took it away. It's like,
right. They changed the interface every so often. So that was the idea. Is, you know, they would just have Windows 10. They would just fix up Windows 10.
Whose idea is that? We're going to just move everything around so you can't get your work done, and then we laugh. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. So they're doing the same thing with Windows 11, but even more so this time.
Why you pretend that that Windows is useful for some purpose other than as a hacking target?
Well, I mean,
this is true.
It runs Photoshop.
It does.
So does the Mac.
Yeah.
Well, technically, yeah, but can the Mac run Call of Duty? I said duty.
Well, a pregnancy test can run Call of Duty. I saw that.
Oh, that's nice.
They just bought one and found the processor. Anyway, but maybe it was something simpler.
I thought that was Doom.
It was probably Doom. I'm out of date on my video.
I saw
Doom.
Yeah, no, I saw somebody. God, we're getting off topic. They created a Game Boy cart, but it's Wi-Fi enabled, and so they were playing Grand Theft Auto 5 on their Game Boy.
Yeah,
streaming it from their PC. Anyway, yes, lots of fun ways you can have. Get stuff running on those older systems. Anyway, so other changes. Notepad and Media Player are getting updates. So now they'll have dark modes, which is what we all needed in our lives.
Yes, that's what we all needed.
I put in my malware analysis class, we wanted to reverse engineer a product. And I said, well, let's do Notepad. That'll be simple. And then I found out that they've been changing Notepad to
Yes.
where I had to actually give them the specific version of Notepad. I thought, who would change Notepad? Notepad is-
Microsoft changes Notepad all the time.
evidently they do.
Yes.
And why?
Well, this time they're adding dark mode because when you're typing in Notepad, you really need that dark mode.
Well, that makes more sense than
Yes.
most of the other changes. I mean,
And they also have to change the version number, every time they release a new version of Windows with Notepad. Anyway, so the big change coming soon next month to Windows 11 is Windows 11 will start running Android apps, which will be a huge security issue.
that I want to see.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for that.
That sounds like fun.
Wait,
It
they
does-
mentioned this. They mentioned this what last year, I think.
Yeah, they've been
Yeah.
promising it, but it never came yet.
Yeah, it never came, but it is coming next year. And this is the big thing. And so, this is such a weird thing because Android is such a Google product. And I know Microsoft has the Linux Windows subsystem for Linux, so they could easily throw on some Android compatibility stuff on there. And how are they going to get around all the Google stuff? Well, it turns out that they are going to be coming with the Amazon Play Store.
Oh my God, the Amazon Play Store is a cesspool. Everything in
It
there is
is.
like 2 years out of date.
Yes, it is. It's going to be such a mess. You can apparently sideload Google Play on
there's so
Windows
much-
11.
There's so much malware in the Android store. This is
Yes.
going to be awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be super awesome. All those terrible Android devices are now going to be running on your desktop with all of your desktop power and everything. Oh, it's going to be amazing. And I bet there will be ways to escape the Android containers onto the host desktop. It'll be so much fun.
This is the reason you use Windows
What?
11.
Yes.
Wasn't that a problem with the embedded Linux?
Yes. Yeah, you can also escape embedded Linux really by default. The Microsoft Linux allows you to access the Windows operating file system as well very easily, and so you can get root on if you can get root within Microsoft Linux, you also get root essentially in the host, the Windows main Windows thing that's running on.
You people say there's no cool features.
Yes, I know. This
It's
is
not a
amazing.
lot better later.
Yeah. And then of course, Microsoft's also improving teleworking stuff because that's a huge thing the past few years for obvious reasons.
You mean Teams?
Yes, Teams.
The only thing I know about Teams is it never works. And I always say, guys, you're going to have to use Zoom instead. All my companies that try to use Teams.
Well, I've had good luck with Teams personally. However,
You might have a better VPN.
yeah, I probably have better.
Our VPN runs at about 300 baud, apparently. Anyway.
Yeah. But now you'll be able to, within the taskbar, like hover over a window and you'll have a share this window in Teams to make it easier to share your desktop, which I think is actually a good
Oh,
cool
yeah.
feature. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
people
new
never figure
Windows
out how
11.
to share things in Zoom. That's one of the problems.
Yeah, and you can accidentally. The great thing about Teams is that it's a Microsoft product. So every time you want to share your screen, the button is in a different location. It's so much fun.
They must have a large team at Microsoft just to hide everything.
Yeah, but now there'll be a share this window in the taskbar, which will simplify things. So.
Well, that sounds good. All right. And so Irvin wants to tell us how great it is to have a smart Ford.
No, actually,
No?
the reverse. BMW is going to charge you for heated seats. And Ford replied back saying, we're not going to do that, but they didn't completely take out the whole idea of making a subscription for your car. So that's why I said, when I tweeted this, I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to have to buy cars from 2019 and back, just so that I don't have to subscribe to use my car.
I think there was some feature, right, Tesla, where you could remotely start your car, but only if you pay for a subscription or something.
Yup.
Yeah, well, this is the cloud, right?
Yeah, but not my car. I kind of need that, and I don't want it to die because my subscription ran out.
You
Well,
know,
I'm on freeway.
This is just what gun owners say about smart guns. I don't want to pull the trigger and then see time for a Windows update or wrong password or something.
See, but that could be a good thing. I'd
Gun-
rather do that on a gun than
It could
I
be a
do that on
real
a
problem.
car.
It could be a real problem if the bear's running at you when you're gonna need
Now,
stuff.
whose fault is it to be in front of a bear?
I don't think you understand the situation with gun owners. The whole point of the damn thing is that when you want to shoot somebody, you can. Anyway, all right. And so Alan has got faster internet speeds and the glorious improvement in life that causes.
Well, according to a study from researchers at Cardiff University and Sapienza University, higher internet speeds are linked to lower civic engagement, at least in the United Kingdom. According to the study, the higher the speeds that people had over the period between 2005 and 2018, the lower their participation in things like labor unions and initiatives for the common good, so on and so forth. And so they saw something like 6% reduction in participation. The closer one lived to what they're terming a local exchange. And I'm not sure if they mean a central office, if we're talking about DSL, or what that's about. I'm not entirely clear on the methodology. I have not read the article itself, but it is an interesting observation that there is actually some reduction in people's participation in these civic organizations. Also in political parties, incidentally. This is a particularly interesting part. Apparently, political participation is a little bit different in the UK, and membership in the political parties is actually quite limited. For example, the Conservative Party, the Tory Party, has only something like 85,000 members, very different from in the US. But people participated in that somewhat less, like 3.6%, not a huge difference. Participation in unions and professional associations went down by 6%. So these are not huge differences, but they are probably statistically significant reductions. And maybe this does confirm what everyone's been saying all along about the internet and how it really does destroy the civic fiber of life in a democracy, and so on and so forth. I don't know. It's certainly, I think it's beyond debate that a lot of discourse on the internet ruins civic life, but this study actually measures quantitatively people's time spent participating in such activities.
They also seem to assume that whatever you're doing on the computer has no value.
Are they wrong in assuming that?
I don't think so. No, I think they're wrong. You could be contributing to GitHub or something. You could be doing something valuable.
Yes. Well, one could say that. One could say that.
It reminds me of another thing I heard about, a study I'd heard before, where they took rats and they gave them access to normal water or water with cocaine in it, and they would become drug addicts. But then if they put them in a more stimulating environment where they had fun things to play with and things to do, then they didn't become drug addicts. And I'm thinking about how middle America, where there's no internet, has a huge problem with drug addiction.
Yeah.
Because you've taken away the fun things to do, so there's nothing to do but take drugs.
Yeah. I mean, there's an old saying, idle hands are the devil's plaything, and it is rough growing up in a small town with nothing to do.
I
No one to talk to.
I remember all the bored kids in my country town, all they wanted to do was get out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all right. So then I've got, oh yes, I thought this was awesome today. So Moderna is trialing their HIV vaccine based on the COVID. They said this is coming. Once you have the mRNA for COVID, you can just basically 3D print a vaccine for pretty much everything. They're already got a vaccine against malaria, and now they got a vaccine against HIV. So it'll be a while before they finish the trials and get it approved, but this is a brave new world. I'm looking forward to it. And then Liz has got booby trap sites.
Yes, this is a really interesting article in Ars Technica on a Mac Trojan, and this Trojan's cool. I mean, it's got some pretty impressive features on it, and it's kind of interesting to see the way that it was distributed, because it was the first some of the first discovery of this was through Google malware researchers who noticed that it was being spread in watering hole attacks that seemed to be targeting pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. And I thought, excuse me, I thought that this was pretty interesting, because a lot of it seemed to be, a lot of the functionality seemed to be, fingerprinting the target device, and surveillance-based features. Looking at what's on their computer, recording, audio recording, key logging, stuff like that. And pretty interesting that this this is no script kiddie tool. This is a pretty advanced piece of nasty weaponry here, and this isn't something that is just developed by some kid in their basement.
So are the pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong using Macs? I wouldn't have guessed that.
Well, I mean, I don't. Why not? They sell Apple products in China.
And I just thought because they were too expensive, I would think most people would be using PCs, but I don't really know.
Not necessarily. I mean, there are a lot of it isn't all. I would say that the pro-democracy activism in Hong Kong hasn't just all been penniless college students. There's been a real range of people against that, and a lot of folks in the banking industry, which kind of makes sense considering their livelihood has been drastically impacted by all of this. So I just thought it was a very interesting article, and it's nice because it actually breaks down all the commands. In this article actually breaks down the main commands and functionality of it. And I always appreciate articles like that.
Oh yeah, this malware analysis is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. All right. And Kaitlyn has got a rocket slamming into the moon.
Yeah, this is really interesting. This has never happened before, but a SpaceX rocket is going to hit the moon just by complete accident. So Gizmodo has an article written by George Dvorsky talking about this Falcon 9 booster rocket. So what happened is, this Falcon 9 rocket left Cape Canaveral sometime, I think, in like 2015. And it was sending up a bunch of NOAA and various research satellites. That's the National Atmospheric, the NOAA, not NOAA,
Oceanic and Atmospheric Association.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bunch of satellites, which I absolutely love because they don't encrypt their downlinks. So you can have a lot of fun decrypting or receiving their live data. And so, yes, some of this was the NOAA, the NOAA Deep Space Climate Observatory and Discover. And they were, I believe, we're going to the L1 Lagrange point. So the L1 Lagrange point is right between the sun and the earth, right? So it's sort of the opposite of the L2 Lagrange point where we saw James Webb go to. So James Webb is sort of behind the earth, on the other side of the sun, or like not on this, but you know what I mean, like behind the earth. Like if here's the sun, here's L1 Lagrange point, here's earth, and then L2 is over here. So anyway, and that's where James Webb is in L2. These went to L1. And so this Falcon 9 rocket just sort of delivered these payloads beyond the orbit of the moon, but sort of lost control and been tumbling chaotically ever since. And it's going to hit the far side of the moon eventually. And yeah, this is the first time a piece of space debris has collided with the moon, and it's going to leave a crater. Unfortunately, because it is on the far side of the moon, we won't see the new crater from Earth, but there will be a new crater formed from this Falcon 9 rocket just by pure chance.
Yeah.
I wondered if there was, if I read this article, or I read an article about this on another source. And when I did, I thought to myself, since it's going to be on the far side of the moon, I wonder, it's sort of like that Zen Cohen, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, did it really fall at all? Will we be able to image that in some way,
Yes.
or will we see it when it happens?
Oh, when it happens, I don't know. Probably not. There are satellites in orbit of the moon which take regular pictures. I mean, we'll have an image of the new crater, within a day of it happening. I think
there's a Chinese mission to the far side of the moon still underway, I think.
Yeah, there's tons of images from the moon. The moon is a fun target to set up. And one of the great things about Earth is, or at least the Earth Moon system, is it's really a dual planetary system. The moon is huge. It's basically the size of Mercury. It's just not very dense. And so, although the center of gravity between the Earth Moon system is still within the Earth, the moon is basically like a small little dwarf planet type thing orbiting the Earth. So, it's really just a fun way to stage things out, test your space program, get stuff on the moon, stuff like that. So there's, it's absolutely wonderful to have the moon there. And of course, as such, we're always taking pictures. So we'll have some good pictures, I'm sure, pretty soon of this crater after it was made. Now, unfortunately, luck would have to be so good to have one of the orbiters directly overhead when it hits. And I just don't think that's going to happen.
All right. And Irvin's got a DOS attack.
Yet another. We had 1 terabit, we had 2.4, and now we have 3.4 hitting Azure in November. And now they're reporting about it. It's been a little while, but that record just keeps going up and up.
And Azure apparently has DDoS protection.
Yes. This one they said came from the US, China, South Korea, Russia, Thailand, India, Vietnam, Iran, Indonesia, and Taiwan.
So a big botnet.
A big botnet.
Yeah.
Soon they'll just get the Webb telescope to be part of the DDoS attack.
Well, there you go.
Why not?
Yeah. All right. And Alan's got a Humble Bundle.
Yeah, it's time for yet another cybersecurity Humble Bundle. This time it's from publisher Wiley. $18 will get you 27 different books. Many of them are familiar to anybody who's bought a Humble Bundle before. This time the emphasis is less on technical books, more on I don't know, administrative, not how to, but advice books, if you will. A lot of Bruce Schneier books, a lot of Kevin Mitnick books. Maybe the most interesting title is one called Cryptography Apocalypse.
Oh, quantum computing. Yes. I was just picking on an article just this week, people publishing lies about quantum computing. Quantum computing will break some things, but it won't break everything. Anyway.
Well, they have the, I'm looking at it now. They have the Web Application Hackers Handbook, which is a very good book.
Yeah.
Got a book on Wireshark.
Yeah.
That book is
Wasn't
rather
that book?
dated.
I
I do not recommend that.
Oh, there's Tribe of Hackers, which is pretty well known.
A couple of them. Yeah. Yeah. Looks like it's several good ones. Of course, City College students get most of these for free.
Not only City College, but also San Francisco Public Library cardholders get access to the entire O'Reilly catalog, which includes, as far as I know, all Wiley books. So,
I know. All the textbooks available for free and legal. I don't understand how publishers do this. I
yeah,
thought they were in the business of making money.
Is that also for Cybex? Because they're a Wiley.
I think it is, yes.
How do City College students get this for free?
The instructions are on each of my class pages. You just go to a certain link and you give it a City College EDU address, and then you can read it online for free.
That's great. Students will love that.
That way you don't even need to go to BitTorrent or anything.
Yeah,
Or even, buy it on Amazon or something crazy like that.
that's awesome. Well, we got a lot of broke students, so that's really cool for them.
We do. I don't understand why this program exists, but it totally does.
Hey, I'm all for any way to get students free learning materials.
Yeah, yeah.
The educational, it's a really nice to see this in the face of the greed of the educational publishing racket. This is really refreshing.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, I think that's all for this one, and we'll be back on Tuesday.